So I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable this episode because there's a lot of things that I have actually struggled with. And to be completely candid, these are things that we all struggle with. But I speak from a place of experience with a lot of these, especially when it comes to the fear of failure. And there's something that happens when we think that the way we need to live or act or do is based on what other people see or other people say. This sense of approval of the crowd, of the masses. And it makes us not do what we're capable of doing. The reality is that for a lot of us, fear is not tied into us, it's tied into what other people say. Like, our thought is that if I do something in front of people and then fail miserably, fail loudly, that they're going to judge me. And spoiler, they're always going to judge you. People are always going to have something to say, no matter what. You could be the most perfect person in the world, and they'll criticize your perfection. But for a lot of us, fear of failure has been ingrained. This mountain of failure has been ingrained in our life through our conversations with our family members, with our friends, the people around us that we held to high esteem. So when they couldn't see in us what we were capable of doing, then we believed that that's who we were, and we stayed in what we were stuck in. Fear of failure is going to be something that you will always live with. The question isn't, are you afraid? The question is, what are you going to do about it?
This is Made for This Mountain with Josh Rosa, where we're turning pain into purpose.
There is this reality where we're afraid of a lot of things. And this was actually last night. I was sitting with this, getting ready for this episode. And I was reading some stuff and getting stuff ready, right? Because I like to bring actual value and not just sit here and yap at you for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever time frame it is. And I was sitting with this, and I won't lie to you. I couldn't sleep. Like I was like, man, let me just go do this now, because I'm again being vulnerable. I myself have this fear because this world that I'm in, this thing that I'm doing, there's a reality, there's a possibility that I might not get a chance to do it again, and I genuinely feel that I have not done my best. Like, not in terms of content delivery and research and sharing things with you guys, but more in the back end of the things that I could like promote and grow and be through all these things. And as I was sitting with that, I realized this, what we're talking about today, that sometimes we fail because we refuse to accept that we're doing well in something else. Like, the reason that we think that we're not doing well is we try to overload our table with so many things at once that it doesn't allow us to be so focused on the thing that we're genuinely craving, that we're generally striving to be in. So failure sometimes is masked. This fear of failure is masked by overproductivity. Like, you think you need to be doing 10,000 things to look productive. You think you need to be extra in every other place to seem like you got it all together. What if the way that you actually had everything together really well is if you did one thing really, really well? Like, what if all your energy was in that one thing? And maybe that's just a season of it, right? Maybe it's just establishing this one thing and being firm in this one thing for right now. I was actually, again, these comments and these stars and these shares and 5 stars and all these things, it does have a huge toll, a huge impact. But I was actually going through some of the stuff on our network, on my Cultura network, and reading some of the comments and stars that people are putting on other videos. Because again, I'm trying to see what people did right so I could do that and mimic that or change the things that I'm doing that might be similar to it. And I realized that in some of these places, some people are just really mean. Like, they were saying completely unnecessary things that had nothing even to do with the podcasts themselves they were listening to, but it was more like a personal attack on the people on there. And it just made me think that if we responded to those people, we would never do anything. Like, if I were to sit here and hark on the people who had negative things to say about me or about my peers and colleagues, if we were to look at those things and we really thought that what we're doing should be stifled or stopped by a person that doesn't like it, you would do nothing in your life, because there's always going to be somebody that doesn't like it. For a lot of us, fear of failure is fear of losing and being judged. It's like this thought that if I do this thing and people see me do this thing and I do it loudly, that they're going to judge me, that they're going to talk about me, they're going to criticize me. The truth is that they will, right? That's inevitable. You're going to get people that will have something to say about you no matter what. Even if you're afraid to do it, they'll talk about your fear of not doing it. You can't live a life that's of worth for you, that is stuck on finding value in other people's opinion, That whole saying that I say often, if you live for the applause of the crowd, you'll die by the lack thereof. And it's funny because this entire episode is actually based on chapter 2 of my book, which I'm working on. It's called Made for This Month. The podcast is Made for This Month. It's called the When Fallacy, the reasons we don't start. And this chapter specifically focuses on fear, this notion where we are stuck with things because, again, we think that we need people to like us, to approve us, to clap for us, to cheer for us. What if no one ever cheers for you? Like, what if no one ever claps for you? What if no one ever says, wow, you're doing a good job? Will it stop the value that the thing is bringing to your life? Like, will it stop the worth that you're putting into it? Will it change your life? Will it take these things away? If I had listened to people when I started making social media content, I had so much to say, which they still do to this day, but they kind of have to eat their words now because I get paid to do this. If I had stopped and listened to those people when I had a goal and a dream and said, nah, you know what, these people are going to criticize it. I can't. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to be the topic of conversation. If I had stopped, nothing that I've achieved to this point would have happened. And I say myself, again, not to boast or brag, but only because it's who I know. But it's a point of influence of saying that if I was capable of doing this thing, I refuse to believe that someone else isn't. A lot of people stop their dreams, stop their hopes, stop the thing they want to do because they're too busy giving power to people that don't deserve it. They're too busy trying to please the crowd that they will never please. People pleasing is fear dressed up as kindness. If decisions are based on keeping others comfortable, failure will always feel fatal. If you have a dream, if you have a goal, you have something that you want to accomplish, I need you right now to understand that you will be criticized. You will be talked about. You will be dragged through the mud. Your name will be thrown in places. The things that you're doing will be bashed and just demeaned. And the reason why, and often not to your face, but you might hear it. And the reason why is because it's human nature to attack things that you don't understand. Well, unhealed human nature, unhealed emotional intelligence, unhealed lack of success. Because in this natural thing that people will come and they will try to destroy something, because twofold here. One reason is because it illuminates the fact that you are doing something scary that they aren't willing to do about themselves. It might not even be the same niche or same field or same whatever. They're afraid to pursue their dreams or pursue their goals or pursue the things that are scary. So it's easier to bash you, to diminish that in their mind. Because if I attack you, then in my mind it seems like, well, you know what? That's how bad that is, and that's how bad they're getting it. So there's no way that I should do this myself. It shows them that what they're afraid of doing is possible, that there is an outcome, a possibility where effort and work can happen. The second fold there is that the better you become, the better people are, the more successful they are, the less they demean other people. Like the fear of failing in front of others is only as powerful as you give it authority. So those people who are on that first fold that are just bad people, or just angry people, or just mad people, you give them power by responding to that thing and say, well, okay, if you're judging me, then you know what, I'm not going to do it. And it vindicates something in them that says that. And it perpetuates the same circle, right? The same cycle that we're still in, because now it says, yeah, you know what, I bashed them and they proved to me that I can't do this myself. So they can't do it either. And that second fold are people who have accomplished things, who have gone to. I promise you that no one up top ever criticizes because they know how much work it takes to get there. People that punch you are punching only from the bottom up, never from the top down. Because people up top are trying to pull you up with them. People down low are trying to pull you down with them. They see that you're succeeding or trying or making even the smallest effort. And it hurts them because they can't do it. Or they refuse to. Because I believe everyone's capable. I always equate this to people talking about high school rappers or adults that still want to rappers. Now, again, full disclosure here, I don't think that you should put all your eggs in a basket with certain things, right? Like being a famous basketball player, right? Or a rapper. I mean, love the craft, love the hobby, create in it, and make it that component. And if it so happens that because of your love and effort and that thing, it does flourish as something great, awesome. But there are certain things like that where it takes a specific skill set And I leave that one to the side because there's so much there that it could be misconstrued as bashing. I never want anyone to feel as if they shouldn't pursue their dreams, even if they are extremely, extremely, extremely out there. I do think, though, that there needs to come a level of discretion in saying, well, is this producing fruit? Is it good? Is it useful? And when we begin to discern those things, you see that some things are meant to live and thrive in us as a different facet. I know tons of people who work in production, right? And they have these relationships and these connections with these kind of people. And this is a world that they love and they're passionate about. And that's how it comes out for them. So I want to be clear. I do think that is a good thing to keep in that realm, but also realm of reality. But what I do want to focus on that sense is this over-reliant belief that they will make it. This near delusion that is actually something we should all develop. And it sounds crazy to say develop delusion, but it's a reality where you are so confident in you, where you are so pouring into the thing that you know, again, it's fruitful, it's good, it's useful. And you're pouring so much into this, despite what anyone else says. There's something powerful about that. Because it produces this authority again in us that allows us to be fully invested in us. And I think we've lost the sight of that. Like we have this world where if you love you enough or too much, they'll call you selfish. Now, again, there is arrogance, right? Then that's not what we're talking about. We don't mean be arrogant. We mean love you enough that you don't allow other people to rob you of that. That you don't allow other people to dictate how much love you would give yourself and how you react with you and how you show up for you, because we live in a world that's taught us that if we want to really love, we have to be empty of us. Again, not an arrogance. I'm not saying sit here and live in vanity and stare yourself in the mirror and think of the best thing in the world. I mean, be so firm and confident and loving in you that it gives to other people. It just exudes out of you into others. That's genuine love. That's knowing that you are capable and you're willing and you're able, and you pour into yourself so that you can pour into others. There's an exercise, and I encourage you to think about it. Well, twofold. Before we get into the exercise, that last portion of our people pleasing, it's who are you performing for? Because there are times where we show up and act and have to look a certain way on social media or have to have people think that we're doing this and that and the third. You are performing. It's a performance there, because the moment that the people don't clap for you, you die. The moment that no one vindicates your effort or work, the moment that no one vindicates how you're showing up, that's it. That's the end of it. No one needs to clap for you. The healed version of you is a version of you that knows that they do not need approval of anyone else to do what they want to do or need to do. The healed version of you doesn't look for people to sit here and vindicate their actions. They don't need to brag or showcase what they're doing because they're simply doing it. Now, there's a difference between being proud of what you're doing and inviting people into it. And there's another difference between showing people, look at all these things I'm doing. I put it on the table so that they can clap for you. And when they stare at you and don't clap for you, if you're not healed, it will hurt, because it drags back into that fear of failure, that we think we're not enough, that we think we can't offer, that we think we're not good. At some point, we need to be so firm and in love with us that no matter what anyone else says, we don't care, because we're not performing for them. This is not the circus. This is your life, and you're loving and doing everything that you can to make it better. There's an exercise. It's called writing your own eulogy. And I've been fortunate enough where I've been invited to speak at other people's funerals, friends and family members, and just friends of family members, or friends of friends. And I say fortunate enough because I think one of the most powerful things that you will ever do is eulogize someone. Like, remember who they are and share with the community who they are, and bring the story into the forefront of these people. And I've, interestingly enough, been at a lot of young people's funerals. And the conversations that I had with their family and their friends have always been about how good of people they were, how nice they were, how they showed up. And I thought, wow, man, that's so important that this is how people remember and see you. But then it also jogs this thought that I never heard from all these eulogies that I've given myself, how fearless people were, or how goal oriented they were, or how, and these were all young people that I've spoken to. And there's an exercise that even is outside of that, but it's writing your own eulogy. It's how would you want to be remembered? Like, if God forbid you were to die tomorrow, what would your eulogy sound like? Would you be remembered as quiet or meek or just a nice person, or would you be remembered for your courage, for showing up, for being more, for being this version of you that creates an impact, that it takes risks, that people say, man, he or she was so courageous. They weren't afraid to be themselves. Yeah, be sweet, be nice, be loving, be kind, be all those things, but also be so courageous, be so out there, be so impactful, be so fearless that people remember that. They remember who you are because of the impact that you made. There was a story of Alfred Nobel, and this man, he was known as the Merchant of Death. And one day, the newspaper articles, for some reason, thought that he had died. And Alfred Nobel was reading the newspaper. And as he's reading the newspaper, he noticed his eulogy. He noticed what they said about him and how horrible it was, how he wasn't creating anything good for this world, how he was a war merchant, and how everything was just bad about him. And when he read that, he took it upon himself to correct how he would be remembered. Like, he changed his legacy and everything about him. So much so that to this day, we give something called the Nobel Peace Prize, which is based on him, which is for people who have impacted this world, who've done something so good and so fearless that it's changed everyone's life around it. If you were to die tomorrow, God forbid, would your eulogy, with that writing in the newspaper, with what people remembered and told about you, would that be impactful? Now, again, never to make this about faith, because I understand not everyone's faith, but in my faith, at least, we call that being a saint. Could you live a life that is worthy enough to be called a saint on earth? Like, if people were to read that eulogy, would they be inspired, motivated? Would they grow from it? Or would they just be like, he was a nice guy. She was a nice girl. I think our fear limits our greatness. It stops us from being this portion of us. And again, this is all from chapter 2 of my book. And again, not to shameless plug it in there, but there are just some such good substance there. And specifically that poem that we all know from Coach Carter. And it's that our biggest fear is not that we're inadequate. It's that we're greater beyond any measure that we can imagine. It's that you have so much gifting and so much potential. And what's happening is that the lie of fear, this loud lie, because it has to be loud, has limited the life that you're capable of living based on the fear that you think you should have. It's limited everything that you do and that you could be. And this is the beauty. You're alive right now. If you're hearing this podcast, if you're watching it, whatever, you have the ability today, this very moment, to do something extreme, to change, to step into who you actually are. And it's not that you aren't a good person now. It's not that you're not an effective person now. It's not that you're not making efforts now. But it's that it changes and molds and shapes how you see and perceive everything else and how boldly and loudly you live. Spoiler, you're not going to make it out of this life alive. You don't have much time. That old saying, which is another good one, it's not one day more, it's one day less. So how are you living right now. Fear of failure often is a fear of disappointing the old version of yourself. Like for a lot of people, they have ingrained themselves in their past. So what's been done to you, what's been said to you, how you've been broken up with, how you've been fired, how your relationship with your parents or your siblings or your kids isn't good. We are stagnant in that place, and for a very good reason. Like I don't want to dismiss that, because what it is that for a lot of people we are staying there, we're stagnant there because there is an emotion there that we miss, something that's unresolved. It's like, I hate to say ghost, right? I'm not going to dive too deep into that, but there's this like belief in TV shows and in movies and stuff like that, that when there's a quote unquote ghost, it's because of an unresolved issue. Like in movies, if there's a ghost in that area, it's because there's something they haven't resolved. There's a lot of people that are living their life right now as ghosts. You're going through a season, through a stage, but you're moving, but you're in a stage that you're no longer belonging in, because you haven't resolved a wound there. You haven't resolved an issue there. You haven't resolved that problem there. So you are currently living here, but you're actually a ghost here. You're just a shell of yourself, because you're still stuck back there. And the reason that a lot of people are afraid of a failure, it's because they're afraid of having to disappoint that thought of what they should have been and not of who they are. They stay in a place that is killing them because they're afraid to let go of that place. You're not that wound. You're not them. You're not that person anymore. You're here now, and everything that you do forward comes back to the reality of who you are, not of what's been done to you or said to you or hurt you, but of who you actually are. And this is why, for a lot of us, we have an identity crisis. Fear of failure is one thing, but the reason that we don't even succeed past that entry point is because we have an identity crisis. We think that we are what has been done to us. You are not those things. You're not broken. You're not hurt. You're not lost. You are where you are now. And that's the most important thing that we ever have to learn and figure out. And we are not what's been said. You're not broken. You weren't made to remain that way. But you're a shell of yourself right now because you're still stuck in other things. And again, I don't want to dismiss that emotion, because it's true. It's a pain that we've gone through and something that we've dealt with. But there's a problem when our hurt dictates our life. Like everything that comes forward from us, it's from a past place. And there's an issue with that. There's a huge issue, because now it just distinguishes what you will do based on where you're stuck. You have to move on despite yourself. And this is an interesting take, because we are our own biggest enemy sometimes. A lot of times. Actually, all the time. You are your own biggest enemy. Why? Because even if you have an enemy outside, and I don't know what kind of life you live in, hopefully you don't got people in young terms, ops, that are trying to constantly shoot you or kill you. Let's hope that's not the case. But even if you have those kind of enemies, those enemies will never be worse than you. Because you could hide and run and you could avoid those enemies, but you would never be able to avoid yourself. The voice that's internal, this thing that is consistent. The reason that we don't grow or change or move is because that voice is really hard. And again, I'm always vulnerable with you guys. My biggest struggle is getting back into the gym, right? That's something I used to love. Like that was obviously my outlet for a lot of things. And life has been life, and it's been crazy, and I've had to deal with so much, and it's just all whatever. 1,000 excuses that I make and that I can make, but that are not valid. And I know that the way that we change this is not that tomorrow. I mean, I am going to go after this, but it's not that tomorrow you just are perfectly fine and you're back in your routine because you spoke to yourself one time. No, it's a consistent, a daily reminder. And even when it's a daily reminder, right, and you still don't do it, what you are doing is reconditioning your mind, your brain, to understand that this is good and this is what we want. So you build this pattern of this constant habit of telling this thing what it should be. It's so easy to fall back into that rut of not having something that we actually want control the table. Because again, you are your own biggest enemy. So your brain will hark on your past. It'll hark on all those things that have been said or done. That becomes the centerfold of everything. You might avoid all these other things, but you can never avoid yourself. And how you remind you or how you speak to you is going to be very important. It's going to be the center point of everything you do. The biggest struggle that we will have, again, it's us, but it's the permission that we allow ourselves to have. Like, you have permission, complete permission to do what you need to do. You have permission to add or to remove or to grow or to no longer communicate with. And it's hard to heal from these things because we have created almost like this niche within a niche of how we associate with people. The older we get, and this is common across the board, the less people we have around us. And I think that's because of not just proximity, right, but also influence. We learn that not everyone around us is good for us. And even when we try to be the olive branch and reach out or give the olive branch, it's never serving the best version of us. So real quick, just to kind of recap our last few points there and just give you real quick points to think about. Our first one was fear of people-pleasing. People-pleasing teaches you that love is conditional, that it's based on what you do and that's how you receive. It's not conditional. It's unconditional. If it was conditional, then that's not love, that's use. The only time the love is conditional is when there's something that you get out of me. That's when I show up for you. If you have to do things for people to love you, then it's not freely given. It's based on condition. Failure feels like rejection, not feedback. When we're people-pleasing, when we fail, it feels like we failed them or we were rejected by them. Not that we're supported or growing in them, because again, it's transactional. It's not genuine. And ultimately, that the cure is your identity. That's it, who you are. It is more important than what people say or see about you. Our last two here is the eulogy. Who are you? Who would you be remembered as? What did you avoid because it might not work? What did you bury because it didn't fit the expectations? And who did you become smaller for? Who did you diminish yourself for? Your eulogy won't honor potential. It's only honored what you did. There's a saying that says that the world does not honor potential, it honors audacity. You being audacious enough to know that you need to do what you need to do. That you're not afraid to be looked at weird, that you're not afraid to be criticized or talked about because you know that only the greats are talked about. No one talks about the person that did nothing. The eulogy that they have doesn't signify this greatness and lack of fear that they came into. And then finally, moving on despite yourself. Just because it's familiar pain doesn't mean it's your pain to keep. Failure is often the doorway, not the dead end. You will be your either biggest critic or your biggest advocate. You're either going to show up for you how you need to show up for you, or you're going to sit here and criticize you. But at the end of the day, the only person that either gains or loses from this is you. And at the end of the day, the only person who's going to die your death or live your life is you. And I don't think that living under who we're meant to be would ever be the best and most fruitful life. So, this mountain of failure, fear of failure, is going to be huge for a lot of us. But it will be the only thing that we address ourselves that will consistently be in. Because failure is always going to creep in. But how you respond to it, how you address it, how you change it, how you don't let it limit you will be the biggest factor there. So thank you for being on this episode. I hope there's some fruit here. And again, if you can, go ahead and do the whole sharing and liking and downloading. Set up the auto-download and 5-star stuff just so we can keep pumping here. But other than that, I'm glad you're here. We'll check you on the next one.